the King of Glory Sutras called the Exalted Sublime Golden Light, a Mahayana Sutra. Chapter 1. The chapter on the preamble to the King of Glory Sutras, the Sublime Golden Light. Homage to all past, future, and present Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Prajeka Buddhas, and Shravakas. Thus I've heard at one time the Tathagata entering Buddha's domain of experience, the profound sphere of reality, at Vulture Peak expounded to the Supreme Bodhisattvas who are pure and stainless. This King of Glory Sutras, the Sublime Golden Light, which is extremely profound upon hearing and profound upon examination. The Buddhas in the four directions confer their blessings. Blessings from Aksobhya in the east, Ratnaketu in the south, Amitabha in the west, and Dundubishwara in the north. In order to extinguish all unwholesome deeds, I will proclaim this auspicious sublime discourse that exhausts all negative karma, grants all peace and happiness, completely eliminates suffering, which is adorned with all that is glorious, and is the foundation of omniscience, granting blessings. This I shall explain. Sentient beings whose senses are defective, whose life expectancy has ended or is fading, whom the gods have turned against, who are burdened by misfortune, hated by their loved ones, or oppressed as household servants, in conflict with one another, afflicted with decline in material wealth, grief-stricken and miserable, ridden with fear and stricken by poverty, troubled by stars, planetary bodies, and fierce demonic spirits, or who see excruciating nightmares, following grief and fatigue, they should bathe well to render themselves clean, and listen to this sublime sutra. Should those with virtuous intent and pure mind adorn themselves well in clean garments, then listen to this sutra on the profound, the domain of Buddha's experience. Through the awe-inspiring power of this sutra, the suffering of all creatures, the likes of which cannot be endured, will be forever pacified. Protection will be offered to them by the guardians of the world, their ministers and army chiefs, tens of thousands of millions of yakshas, the great goddess Sarasvati, and the goddess who dwells in the Niranjana, by Hariti, mother of Bhutas, the earth goddess Dirha, by the Brahma kings and kings of the 33, the powerful kings of serpents, kings of Kinnaras and kings of Asuras, likewise by the kings of Garudas. They, with their clans and might, will arrive, along with their mounts, and unfailingly day and night offer protection to beings. I will clearly expound this sutra on the profound, the domain of Buddha's experience, the secret of all Buddhas, difficult to find in tens of millions of aeons. Those who hear this sutra, those who cause others to hear it, those who rejoice upon hearing and make offerings to it, for tens of millions of aeons, shall be venerated by gods and nagas, humans and kinnaras, asuras and yakshas. For beings without merit, the store of their merit will grow into a limitless, incalculable, inconceivable mass. Fiercely they will be protected by Buddhas in the 10 directions, likewise also by bodhisattvas engaged in the profound, clad in clean garments, wearing well-perfumed clothes, possessing a mind firm with love, without distraction. One should honor this sutra, render the mind spotless, put forth effort to make it expansive and intensely clear, then listen to this sublime sutra. Those who listen to this sutra will be acclaimed among humans, attain an excellent human existence, and live a life of comfort. Those into whose ears this sublime discourse is echoed will have merit roots refined, and numerous Buddhas will extol them. Chapter 2. The chapter on the span of the Tathagata's life. Furthermore, at that time, during that period, in the great city of Rajagriha, there dwelt the Bodhisattva, the great being, Ruchiraketu, who had venerated previous Buddhas, cultivated roots of virtue, and rendered service to many hundreds of thousands of millions of Buddhas. He thought to himself, what cause and what condition will cause the Lord Shakyamuni to live for only 80 years? That is such a short life. Furthermore, he thought, the Lord has himself declared, there are two causes and two conditions which prolong life. What are the two? They are namely renouncing killing and giving food wholly. As for the Lord Shakyamuni, he renounced killing for many incalculable hundreds of thousands of millions of aeons. He perfectly adhered to the path of the 10 virtuous actions. He gave away food and external and internal objects completely. Not only that, he satisfied hungry living beings with the flesh, blood, bones, and marrow of his own body. Then while this sublime being entertained such thoughts with regard to the Tathagata, his house transformed into a vast and expansive palace made of lapis lazuli, embellished with numerous divine jewels, its color transformed by the Tathagata, and filled with perfumes surpassing those of gods. In the 4 directions emerged 4 thrones made of divine jewels. These thrones came to be covered with mats of divine jewels and fine cotton raiment, and on those thrones appeared divine lotuses adorned with numerous jewels, their color transformed by the Tathagata. From those lotuses arose 4 transcendent victor Buddhas. In the east appeared the Tathagata Aksobhya. In the south appeared the Tathagata Ratnaketu. In the west appeared the Tathagata Amitayus, and in the north appeared the Tathagata Dundubishwara. When those Tathagatas appeared on those lion thrones, the great city of Rajagriha was filled with bright light. That light pervaded all the 1,000 great thousand world systems in the 10 directions, and world systems as many as the grains of sand in the Ganges River. In addition, divine flowers rained down, and divine music resounded. Through the power of the Buddha, all sentient beings in the 1,000 great thousand worlds too became possessed of the joy of the gods. Beings whose senses were incomplete became possessed of complete senses. Beings blind from birth saw forms with the eyes. Deaf beings heard sounds with the ears. Insane beings regained their sanity. Distracted beings became focused. Naked beings became clothed in garments. Hungry beings became full-bellied. Thirsty beings were quenched. Beings afflicted with illness became free of disease. Beings whose bodily organs were defective became possessed of complete organs. Many astounding events took place in the world. Upon seeing those Buddhas, the Bodhisattva Ruchiraketu was greatly astounded. He was satiated, pleased, joyful, and delighted. Feeling happy and ecstatic, with hands folded in the direction of the Tathagatas, he bowed in homage, remembering those Tathagatas. Then reflecting on the qualities of the Tathagata Shakyamuni Buddha, he was vexed with misgiving about the lifespan of the Tathagata Shakyamuni Buddha. He wondered, how is it that the Lord Shakyamuni will live a brief life of only 80 years? Those Tathagatas, while knowing and realizing his thoughts, spoke to him thus: O child of noble family, do not think. The Lord Shakyamuni will have such a short lifespan. Why? Because, O child of noble family, except for the perfectly and fully enlightened conqueror Tathagatas, we do not see among the worlds of gods, Maras or Brahmans, among ascetics and Brahmins, gods, humans or asuras, anyone who could perceive the furthest future reaches of the lifespan of the Tathagata, Lord Shakyamuni. As soon as those Tathagatas expressed this observation on the lifespan of the Tathagata Shakyamuni Buddha, then by the power of the Tathagata, the gods residing in the desire and form realms, including Nagas, Yakshas, Gandharvas, Asuras, Garudas, Kinnaras, and Mahoragas, as well as numerous hundreds of thousands of millions of bodhisattvas, gathered and went to the house of the bodhisattva Ruchiraketu. Then those Tathagatas proclaimed in verse this explanation of the lifespan of Tathagata Shakyamuni to the entire gathering. The drops of water in all the oceans can be measured, but no one can measure the lifespan of Shakyamuni. To the finest particle, the atoms of Mount Sumeru can be gauged, but no one can gauge the lifespan of Shakyamuni. The number of finest particles existing on this earth can be measured, but not the span of the conqueror's life. Although through some device one may wish to measure space, no one can measure the lifespan of Shakyamuni. The number cannot be found that explains the fully enlightened Buddha lives this long, these many eons in eon terms, such as 100 million eons. There are two causes and two conditions for this: renouncing deadly violence and repeatedly giving plentiful food. The finite count of the lifespan of this great being that explains he will live these many eons cannot be found. The eons are indeed uncountable. Hence have no doubt, not even the slightest doubt, the finite limit of the conqueror's life is not observed anywhere. Then at that time, in that assembly, the Brahmin teacher and expounder called Kondanya, along with numerous thousands of Brahmins, venerated the Tathagata. On hearing the voice of those great Tathagatas, completely gone beyond sorrow, they gathered in that place at once, bowing at the feet of the Tathagata. The Brahmin teacher and expounder Kondanya said to the Tathagata, "If the Lord Transcendent Victor is merciful to all living beings, compassionate, desirous of serving, apparent to all, equal to the unequal, illuminating like the moon, wisdom and knowledge glowing like the sun, if you look upon all beings as upon your son Rahula, then please give me some guidance." The Tathagata remained silent. Then through the power of the Tathagata, in that assembly, a confidence grew in a Lichavi youth called Sarvaloka Priyadarshana, and he spoke thus to the Brahmin teacher and expounder Kondanya: "Why do you seek guidance, great Brahmin, from the Buddha. I will give you the guidance you seek." The Brahmin said, "For the sake of honoring the Buddha, Lichavi youth, and for the sake of receiving a share of relic powder, I wish to have a relic of the Buddha the size of a mustard seed. It is said that if one honors a relic the size of a mustard seed, one attains lordship over the gods of the 33. Listen, O Lichavi youth, to the King of Glory Sutras, the Sublime Golden Light, which has features and qualities such as being difficult for all Shravakas and Pachika Buddhas to know and to comprehend. O Lichavi youth, the Sutra of Sublime Golden Light is in this way difficult to know and difficult to comprehend. Hence we Brahmins of remote areas wish to have a relic the size of a mustard seed, which when held, either placed in a bowl or kept on the body, causes living beings to attain lordship over the gods of the 33. Why wouldn't you, O Lichavi youth, wish to receive a relic the size of a mustard seed from the Tathagata and keep it in an urn so that living beings may attain lordship over the gods of the 33? O Lichavi youth, I seek such a boon." Then Sarvaloka Priyadarshana, the Lichavi youth, replied in verse to the Brahmin teacher and expounder, Kondanya, "When white lilies grow in the Ganges swift currents, when crows become red, and cuckoos turn the color of conch, when palm fruit grows on the rose apple tree, and on the date tree mangoes form, at that time a relic the size of a mustard seed will appear. When from tortoise hair, cloth shielding winter's bite, can be woven well, then there will be a relic. When from the legs of gnats, multi-storied towers can be well built, solidly firm and never shaking, then there will be a relic. When all leeches grow white teeth, sharp and big, then there will be a relic. When from the horns of rabbits, ladders can be built well, in order to climb high, then there will be a relic. Climbing this ladder, should a mouse eat the moon and harm Rahu as well, then there will be a relic. When bees that buzz in towns drink a pitcher of wine and make dwelling in a house, then there will be a relic. When donkeys become happy, well versed in singing and dancing, their lips ruddy like the bimba fruit, then there will be a relic. When owls and crows flock to solitude, frolic together, and become friendly, then there will be a relic. When the leaves of the palasha tree become an umbrella made of 3 jewels that keeps off the rain, then there will be a relic. When large ocean vessels, fitted with turning devices and sails, float and set sail on land, then there will be a relic. When owls move freely, lifting the Gandhamadana mountain in their beaks, then there will be a relic. After hearing these verses, the Brahmin teacher and expounder, Kondanya, replied to Sarvaloka Priyadarshana, the Lichavi youth, "Excellent, excellent, supreme youth, the son of Buddha, great orator, heroic and skillful in means, you have received the sublime prophecy. Listen to me, O youth, concerning the inconceivable greatness of the Tathagata, the protector and savior of the world. The realm of the Buddhas is inconceivable, and the Tathagatas are peerless. All Buddhas are ever serene. All Buddhas are perfectly merged. All Buddhas are of the same hue. This is the suchness of Buddhas. The Lord Transcendent Victor is uncontrived. The Tathagata is unborn. His body, hard as a vajra, manifests emanated forms. Thus no relic small as a mustard seed of the great sage is to be found. Since his body is without bone and blood, how can there be a relic? Yet to benefit living beings, skillfully relics are formed. Dharmakaya, the complete Buddha, Dharmadhatu, the Tathagata, akin to the deed of teaching the Dharma, these are the body of the Lord. Because I heard and knew this, I sought this sublime gift, to make this truth plain and clear. Thus I initiated this discourse. Then, having heard such profound explanations of the Tathagata's span of life, all 32,000 sons of gods generated altruistic resolve for the peerless and perfect enlightenment, their minds filled with intense joy. They spoke these verses in a single voice. The Buddha does not enter complete nirvana, neither does the Dharma cease to be. Yet for the ripening of beings, Tathagatas manifests passing beyond suffering. The transcendent victor Buddha is inconceivable. Though the Tathagata's body is permanent, it pervades a multitude of forms for the welfare of sentient beings. Having heard these discourses explaining the lifespan of the Tathagata Shakyamuni Buddha from these Tathagatas and the two great beings, the Bodhisattva Ruchiraketu was thoroughly satiated, pleased, extremely delighted, and filled with joy. He was overwhelmed with great bliss of mind. While this discourse on the Tathagata's span of life was being given, inconceivable, countless sentient beings generated altruistic resolve for peerless and perfect enlightenment. Then those Tathagatas vanished in that very spot. Chapter 3. The chapter on seeing the dream. Then the Bodhisattva Ruchiraketu slid into sleep. He dreamed he saw a golden drum, its light shining like the orb of the sun. In every direction, countless inconceivable numbers of Tathagatas were preaching the Dharma, seated on lapis thrones at the foot of jeweled trees, completely surrounded by numerous hundreds of thousands of retinues. Then he saw a being in the form of a Brahmin beating that drum. From the sound of the drum, these and similar confessional verses issued forth. Then the Bodhisattva Ruchiraketu awoke and remembered those verses at once. Having remembered those verses, when night came to an end, he, along with many thousands of beings, left the great city of Rajagriha. He arrived at Vulture Peak, where the Tathagata was. Having reached there, he prostrated himself at the feet of the Tathagata, circumambulated the Tathagata 3 times, and sat to one side. Sitting to one side, the Bodhisattva Ruchiraketu bowed to the Tathagata with hands folded in respect, and recited those confessional verses he heard coming forth from the drum. Chapter 4. The chapter on confession. One night, without distraction, I dreamed a vivid dream. I saw a large and beautiful drum, filling the world with golden light, and glowing like the sun, beaming brightly to all places. It was seen from 10 directions. Everywhere Buddhas were seated on thrones of precious lapis, at the foot of jeweled trees, facing assemblies of many hundreds of thousands. I saw a form like that of a Brahmin fiercely beat upon the drum. When he struck it, these verses issued forth. By the sound of this majestic drum of golden light, may the suffering of lower migration, Yama, and the poverty of the three realms of the 1,000 worlds cease to be. By the sound of this majestic drum, may the ignorance of the world be dispelled, with fears quelled, just as vanquishing sages are unafraid. May sentient beings become fearless and brave. Just as the omniscient, vanquishing sage in the world is possessed of every excellence of the Aryas, may countless beings too possess oceans of qualities, concentration, and the wings of enlightenment. By the sound of this majestic drum, may all beings be endowed with the melody of Brahma. May they touch the sublime enlightenment of Buddhas. May they turn the virtuous wheel of the Dharma. Remaining for inconceivable aeons, may they teach the Dharma to guide migrating beings, conquering delusion and overcoming affliction. May their attachment, hatred, and ignorance be pacified. May sentient beings who have fallen to lower migrations, whose bodies of bone are light with blazing flame, hear the speech of this majestic drum. May the proclamation, homage to the Tathagata, be heard. In the course of hundreds of births and tens of thousands of millions of births, may every being remember their former lives, hear these teachings completely, and always recall the vanquishing sages. By the sound of this majestic drum, may beings always find the company of Buddhas, thoroughly renouncing every harmful act. May they engage in only virtuous deeds. For humans, gods, and all creatures, whatever thoughts and wishes they have, may their every wish be totally fulfilled by the sound of this majestic drum. For beings born in the most terrible hells, bodies alight with blazing flame, who wander without aim, bereft of refuge, filled with grief, may tormenting fires utterly end. For those who bear the suffering of humans, for hell beings, animals, and hungry ghosts, may every suffering be completely dispelled by the sound of this majestic drum. For those who are without refuge, without base, support, or friend, may I become their supreme refuge, their base, their support, and friend. Supreme among bipeds, O Buddhas dwelling in worlds of 10 directions, with merciful, compassionate mind, please pay attention to me. O Buddhas possessed of the 10 powers, those terrible wicked acts I've committed in the past, before your eyes I confess them all. Whatever unwholesome deeds I have done, not holding parents as parents, not holding Buddhas as Buddhas, not upholding virtuous deeds, whatever unwholesome deeds I have done, haughty with the vanity of wealth, haughty with age and youthfulness, haughty with pride of affluence and class, whatever unwholesome deeds I have done, through harmful thoughts, harmful words, the thought of harm as harmless, and harmful actions done. Whatever unwholesome deeds I have done, acting with the mind of a child, a mind dark with ignorance, or under the sway of a non-virtuous friend, greatly charged with emotion, discontent with wealth, afflicted with depression and malice, or under the impulse of frivolous play, whatever unwholesome deeds I have done, through mixing with vile characters of non-Aryas, through jealousy and miserliness, and through poverty and guile, whatever unwholesome deeds I have done, when poverty came to me, fearing loss of the desirable and stricken with a dearth of material goods. Whatever unwholesome deeds I've done, under the power of a flighty mind, ruled by desire and hatred, or oppressed by hunger and thirst, whatever unwholesome deeds I've done, when oppressed by affliction for the sake of pursuing women, or acquiring food, drink, and attire, through misdeeds of body, speech, and mind, I've amassed threefold wrong acts. In these three ways, whatever I have done, these deeds I confess in full. Whatever I have done, disrespecting Buddhas, the Dharma, and Shravakas too, these deeds I confess in full. Actions I've done lacking respect to Pachika Buddhists as well as to Bodhisattvas, these deeds I confess in full. Disrespect I've shown to those who preach the Dharma, likewise contempt of the Dharma itself, these deeds I confess in full. Continually unaware of its benefit, I've rejected the sublime Dharma. I've shown unwitting insolence to parents. These deeds I confess in full. Childish and veiled by stupidity, blind with desire and hatred, ignorance, arrogance, and pride, these deeds I confess in full. Honoring those who possess 10 powers, I shall worship those dwelling in all directions. I shall deliver sentient beings inhabiting every realm from all suffering. I shall place uncountable beings upon the Bodhisattva's 10 grounds. Abiding in these 10 stages, may they all become Tathagatas, until I'm capable of freeing them all from countless oceans of suffering. For 10 million aeons I shall strive for the sake of even one sentient being. To these sentient beings I shall reveal this sutra called Sublime Golden Light, which rids one of every harmful misdeed and expounds upon the profound. Those who, for 1,000 aeons, committed deadly unwholesome deeds, by confessing them earnestly once, through this sutra, all will be purified. Swiftly and wholly consuming all karmic obstructions, by making confessions through sublime golden light, I shall abide on the 10 bodhisattva grounds, those mines of supreme precious jewels, that I may shine with the Tathagata's marks and signs, and free beings from the ocean of existence. Through Buddhas who are the water of oceans, their inconceivable Tathagata qualities, akin to the ocean's profound depth, I shall evolve into an omniscient being. Becoming a Buddha, I shall possess 10 powers, hundreds of thousands of concentrations, inconceivable magical mantra incantations, enlightenment's 7 wings, the 5 powers and 5 forces. O Buddhas who continually look upon beings, I request you to gaze intently upon me, your compassionate minds always overflowing. May you hold the remorseful always near. Due to countless sinful actions performed in hundreds of aeons past, my mind is pierced and stricken with grief, wretchedness, sorrow, and fear. Solemnly fearing unwholesome deeds, I shall always keep my mind modest. Wherever I commit the smallest action, I will not succumb to frivolous excitement. Since Buddhists are compassionate and dispel the fright of all beings, I entreat them to hold the remorseful fast and free us from every fear. May the Tathagatas keep at bay my negative karma and emotion. May the Buddhas always bathe me with the water of their compassion. I confess all unwholesome deeds, whatever I've done in the past whatever is done in the present, these deeds I confess in full. I shall not conceal or hide harmful actions I have done. In future times I shall refrain from deeds that render me full of shame. 3 actions of the body, 4-fold of the voice, 3-fold of the mind. These deeds I confess in full. Actions I've done through body and speech, clearly impelled by the mind. Those 10-fold actions I accomplish, these deeds I confess in full. Renouncing the 10 unwholesome deeds and cultivating those 10 which are moral, I will come to abide on the 10 grounds and acquire the Buddha's 10 great powers. Every unwholesome deed I have done that leads to unwanted results in the presence of the Buddhas, these deeds I confess in full. In the wholesome virtuous deeds of all those dwelling in Jambudvipa and those living in other worlds too, in these deeds I rejoice. Likewise, whatever merit I have gathered through body, speech, and mind, by the force of this virtuous ripening effect, may supreme enlightenment be attained. Deeds committed on samsara's precarious wheel, those actions influenced by a childish mind, approaching the presence of the peerless 10 powers, all these deeds I confess individually through feeble birth, feeble existence, feeble will, and feeble volatile mind. Multitudes of physical actions, this mass of evil deeds, I confess in full. Wretched with delusion of the childish and foolish, wretched through association with non-virtuous friends, wretched with existence, wretched with desire, wretched with hatred, wretched with ignorance, wretched with fatigue, wretched with time, and wretched in accomplishing virtue, I approach the incomparable conquerors and confess all negative deeds individually. I prostrate to the Buddhas, oceans of virtue, golden like Mount Sumeru. Going for refuge, I bow my head in prostration to the golden conquerors. Their compassionate light dispels the double mantle of darkness. Buddhas are suns, blazing glory, splendor and renown, golden in color, eyes fine as pure, faultless lapis. They glow with the glitter of pure gold. Their exquisite and beautiful limbs are utterly flawless and perfectly formed. From pristine limbs, the Buddha's sun radiates shafts of golden light. Consumed by the flame of negative passion, sentient beings blaze like fire. They are refreshed and soothed by the moonlight light of Buddhas. 32 major marks render their senses exquisitely refined. Their awe-inspiring limbs are graced by 80 minor signs, filled with merit and glory, like splendid rays of spinning light. They orbit as does the sun in the darkness of the triple realms, pure as lapis with an array of rich color, exquisitely adorned by myriad webs of light. Your limbs resemble the crystal, silver, and crimson of dawn. Like the sun, O sages, you are enchantingly glorious. For those fallen into the great river of cyclic existence, tossed amidst crushing waves of sorrow and death, may abundant immense rays of the sun that is the Tathagata deplete the ocean of samsara, violent and cruel. With limbs shining brightly, the color of gold, they are wisdom's source, peerless among the 3 realms. Their limbs are adorned with intensely charming marks. I prostrate to the Buddhas, whose bodies sparkle gold. Just as water in the ocean cannot be measured, just as dust on the earth is utterly without end, just as Mount Sumeru possesses matchless stone, and the age of space is infinitely unknown. Likewise, the virtues of Buddhas are limitless. If sentient beings took the measure of their qualities, and for countless aeons reflected upon them, still the extent of their virtue could not be seen. If counted for aeons, one may possibly know water droplets at hair ends, or particles of the earth's mountains, oceans, and rocks, but not the limit of Buddha's virtue. May sentient beings evolve into such Buddhas, graced with virtue, color, fame, and renown, their bodies embellished with major marks of goodness, and the sublime 80 minor signs. Through these virtuous actions, I shall soon become a Buddha on this earth, preaching the doctrine that guides the world. I shall free beings forever afflicted by suffering. I shall triumph over Mara with his army and might. I shall turn the wheel of virtuous Dharma, abiding for inconceivable aeons. I shall satisfy sentient beings with the water of Dharma's nectar. Just as conquerors of the past completed 6 perfections, these perfections I too shall fully achieve. My ignorance, hatred, and desire pacified, I shall conquer delusion and dispel pain. I shall always remember my former births, hundreds of existences, and 10 millions of lives, always recalling the vanquishing sages. I shall listen to their teachings in full. Through these virtuous actions, I shall always find the company of Buddhas, accomplishing virtue, the source of every excellence. I shall thoroughly renounce unwholesome deeds. May the creatures of samsara's various realms be at peace, without the misery of their worlds. May beings who lack sense faculties or whole defective ones be endowed with powers complete. For beings feeble in body, afflicted with disease, and in all 10 directions devoid of defense, may they swiftly be free of their ailments, obtain perfect senses, strength, and good health. For those imperiled by threats and death from kings or thugs, tormented by numerous hundreds of afflictions, may these beings, wretched, weak with sorrow, be free from hundreds of horrific fears. For those who are tortured, bound, and beaten, distressed by passion, or captured by delusion, may these beings, fearful, faced with sorrow, be freed from the shackles of bondage. May those who are bitten find freedom from beating. May those facing murder be endowed with life. May those who are feeble be without fear. May beings tortured by hunger, craving, and thirst immediately find a wealth of food and drink. May the blind see an abundance of forms, and the deaf hear captivating sounds. May the naked find plentiful attire, and the poor find mines of treasure. Through wealth of riches, grain, and jewels, may beings be endowed with serenity and joy. May no being face the pain of affliction. May all beings be attractive and handsome, endowed with exquisite, beautiful, auspicious forms. May every life be replete with infinite joy. As soon as they wish, may there immediately be food, drink, great affluence and merit, large drums, lukes, and piwang, springs, pools, waterholes, and ponds, imbued with blue and golden lotuses. Likewise, may they receive at once food, drink, clothing, and wealth, gems like lapis, golden ornaments, pearls, and jewels. May no sound of woe be heard anywhere in the world, and not one being in poor health be seen. Instead, may beings have great complexion. In each other's radiance, may they mutually shine. Whatever forms of excellence they are in the human world, wherever they are wished for, may these come to be. The moment they arise through the ripening of virtue, may the aspirations of sentient beings be fulfilled. May perfume, incense, garlands and ointments, clothing, powder, and abundant flowers rain down from the trees 3 times. Thus may sentient beings be filled with joy. May they venerate inconceivable Tathagatas in all the 10 directions, completing Bodhisattvas, Shravakas, and likewise the flawless, pristine Dharma. May migrating beings avoid the lower realms. May they go beyond the 8 unfortunate states. May they attain the 8 auspicious conditions. May meetings with Buddhas always be received. Always born in higher classes. May beings be replete with wealth and with grain. For numerous aeons may they be endowed with great form, renown, complexion, and fame. May all women become like men, heroic, learned, lucid, and strong, endeavoring to complete the 6 perfections. May they incessantly strive for enlightenment. May they come to behold Buddhas in the 10 directions, seated at ease upon precious lapis thrones, under bejeweled, exquisite, stately trees. May they hear the Buddha's Dharma explained. Unwholesome deeds I have performed, and created in wretched existences past. May those negative effects which ripen due to deeds be completely extinguished. May those beings who are tied to existence, tightly bound by the rope of the cyclic round, unravel their bondage with a wisdom hand, and quickly be free from all suffering. Whatever beings here in Jambudvipa and in other world spheres too, perform profound virtuous acts, in these deeds I rejoice in full. Through the merit of actions of body, speech, and mind, through rejoicing in others' virtue, may every fruit of my prayers and practice unfold. May the pristine, peerless enlightenment be attained. Those who recite this dedication, who prostrate and praise with an unsoiled mind, always devout and free of stains, shall avoid terrible rebirth for 60 aeons. By reciting these prayers in verses, men, women, Brahmins, and royals who praise the conquerors with folded hands will remember their births in every life. They shall receive bodies adorned with complete limbs and senses, myriad merits and virtue. The Lord of humans will honor them always. Such will they be in each place of birth. Those into whose ears this confession enters have not performed virtue under just one Buddha, not 2, nor 4, nor 5, nor 10, nor in the presence of merely 1,000 Buddhas have they completed virtue. Chapter 5. The Source of Lotuses. Then the Tathagata said this to the noble goddess, Bodhisattva Samuchaya. O noble goddess, at that time, at that moment, a king called Swarnabhujendra, with this eulogy of all the Tathagatas, called the source of lotuses, praised past, future, and present Buddhas, conquerors that appeared in the past, those who dwell now in the 10 directions worlds. To those conquerors I prostrate, of these conquerors I sing praise. The vanquishing sages are calm, utterly calm and pristine. Their bodies shine with the color of gold. Their voices are the sweetest of all melodies, for they roar the melody of Brahma. Their hair is bee, peacock, and lotus blue, curly and jet blue as the blue jay. Like snow and conch, their teeth are ever beautiful, intensely white, gleaming like gold. Their eyes long and flawless blue, resemble lotuses in full bloom. Their tongues fine and broad, lotus-colored and shining, resemble a lotus thread. Their treasure hair, like the lotus and conch, of lapis color, swirls to the right. The eyes of Buddhas are slender as the waning moon. The navel of their bodies shines like a bee. Their noses high on their lofty faces are soft and fine, their color akin to divine gold. Always and incessantly, the taste senses of conquerors are smooth, sublime, and outstandingly supreme. A single hair emerges from their every pore and curls to the right. Their plaited hair, deep blue, lustrous and glistening, is blue as the peacock's beautiful neck. As soon as they are born, their bodies illuminate the triple realms and all 10 directions worlds. Limitless suffering is dispelled by this light, and sentient beings are sustained with all happiness. In the realms of hell beings, animals, hungry ghosts, humans, and gods, all beings are endowed with peace and happiness. Migrating beings of the lower realms are calmed. Of fine complexion, their bodies glow with light the color of refined gold. Like a pure spotless moon, the faces of Sugatas smiling are most beautiful and pristine. Their bodies and limbs are tender as a newborn child. Their excellent heroic gait is that of a lion. Their long hands and very long arms are as branches of the sala tree swung by the wind. Their full arm span, blazing light, issues rays like 1,000 suns, intensely bright. Flawless are the supreme forms of vanquishing sages, who brightly illuminate limitless worlds. The brilliance of Buddhas pales and eclipses the light of numerous suns and full moons in limitless hundreds of thousands of worlds. The sun of the Buddhas is the light of the world. Hundreds of thousands of Buddha suns, the light of the Tathagatas, are beheld by beings in countless hundreds of thousands of worlds. Their forms possessed of 100,000 merits are fully adorned with every virtue. The arms of conquerors resemble the regal elephant's trunk. The light of their hands and feet is striking and bright, equaling the dust particles on the surface of the earth. Are past Buddhas numerous as grains of fine sand. Buddhas to come are just equal to that in number. Equal too are those abiding now. With speech, mind, and body pure, I offer flowers, incense, and abundant praise. My mind overflowing with virtue, I prostrate to these conquerors. The qualities of conquerors are only virtue, of the highest essence and ranging wide. Had I 100 tongues and thousands of aeons, I could not express the qualities of Buddhas. Since even with 1,000 tongues, conquerors' virtues are beyond all words, how with merely 100 tongues could all the qualities of conquerors be told? Should all the worlds, including realms of gods, become an ocean of water approaching Samsara's peak, these waters may be gauged in hair-tip drops, yet not one virtue of Sugatas can be so measured. Through body, speech, and a lucid mind, I've sung this eulogy to all conquerors. Through the finest fruit of merit I've gathered thus, may sentient beings touch supreme enlightenment. Having praised the Buddhas in this way, the king made the following wish. In limitless aeons in the future too, wherever I'm reborn, may I see such a drum as in the dream, and from it hear such confession. In every birth may I find an eulogy to conquerors, equal to source of lotuses. Buddha qualities limitless and peerless, hard to find in thousands of aeons. I will hear these virtues in the dream. Upon waking, I shall expound them. I shall liberate all beings from the ocean of suffering. I shall complete the 6 perfections. When in this way I achieve peerless enlightenment, may my Buddha feel not be loose and infirm. As an effect of the fruition of offering the drum and singing praise to all Buddhas, I shall directly behold the Lord Shakyamuni. Then with my sons Kanaka Bujendra and Kanaka Prabha, may I receive the supreme prophecy along with my 2 children. May the prediction of enlightenment be attained. For those beings who lack abode or support and are wretched and bereft of refuge, may I, in future times, become their refuge, protector, and guardian, so that I may end their suffering and its source and become a wellspring of all virtue. In the future, I shall accomplish enlightening deeds for aeons as many as those gone past. Through this confession of sublime golden light, may the ocean of my misdeeds dry up. May the ocean of my karma be depleted. May the ocean of my delusions be exhausted. May the ocean of my merit be complete. May the ocean of my wisdom be perfectly pure and become an ocean of every virtue. May enlightenment's precious qualities be complete through the power of the confession of sublime golden light. May the force of my merit brightly shine. May the light of my enlightenment be pristine. Through the sublime light of stainless wisdom, may the light of my form glisten and cause the light of merit to gleam. All is endowed with virtue's power. May I be renowned in all 3 realms, so I may free beings from an ocean of suffering and offer peace and happiness vast as the sea. For aeons in future times, I shall always engage in enlightening deeds. However many Buddhas exist in 3 realms, just as their worlds are impassably distinguished through the virtue of conquerors and limitless merit, may my Buddha feel be likewise so. Chapter 6. Chapter on Emptiness. Then at that time, the Tathagata spoke these verses. In numerous other inconceivable sutras, I have expounded empty phenomena in detail. Hence here in this Supreme Sutra, empty phenomena I will just briefly explain. As beings of slight intelligence, ignorant, are incapable of knowing all things. Hence here in this Supreme Sublime Sutra, empty phenomena I explain only in brief, so that all beings may certainly know, so they may be delivered from cyclic existence. Through compassionate ways, methods, and other means, I have expounded this Supreme Sublime Sutra. The body is like an empty village or house. Senses are like soldiers and thieves. Although they live in the same village, they are unaware of each other. The eye sense runs after forms. The ear sense indulges in sounds. The The nose sense captures numerous smells. The tongue sense always hunts taste. The body sense pursues tactile sensations, and the mental sense grabs at phenomena. These 6 individual senses are each absorbed in their objects. The mind is capricious as an illusion. Its 6 senses thoroughly engrossed, like a man who runs to an empty village and resides there among soldiers and thieves. The mind dwells in the 6 objects and fully knows the objects of the senses. Therefore, the mind resides in 6 objects and fully knows the objects of sense engagement. Forms, sounds, and likewise smells, tastes, tactiles, and phenomena. The mind in motion, like a bird in flight, in all 6 enters the sense faculties. In whatever sense it abides, it lends that sense its knowing nature. The body, like a machine in an empty village, is without motion and completely without action. Lacking core essence, it arises from conditions. Arising from concepts, it lacks inherent nature. Earth, water, fire, and wind, abiding separately in different parts, like deadly snakes in the same den, are ever in conflict with each other. Of these 4 snakes of the elements, 2 move up and 2 move down. Moving by twos in directions and subdirections, these snakes of the elements will surely perish. The earth snake and the water snake perish down below. The fire snake and wind snake ascend to the space above. Due to actions done in the past, the mind and consciousness depart from their abodes. Gods, humans, and 3 lower migrators are born in existence according to deeds done. At death, when phlegm, wind, and bile have been exhausted, the body is filled with urine and foul matter. Not pleasant, it becomes a heap of worms, discarded like wood at the carnal ground. Behold these things, O Goddess. Here, beings, persons, and likewise phenomena are empty. Due to ignorance they arise. These great elements have no great origination. Originating from the unoriginated, they lack origination. Since that which originates does not originate, I've called them the great elements. They do not exist and do not ever exist. Due to ignorance, they come into being. Ignorance itself does not exist. Thus I've called it ignorance. Action, consciousness, name and form. The 6 sources, contact, feeling, craving, grasping, and existence too. Birth, aging, and death, sorrows and afflictions. These comprise the 12 links of dependent origination. The inconceivable sufferings of cyclic existence, as they operate in the wheel of life, have originated from the unoriginated. Thus they are without origination, free from discursive conceptual thought. Cut the view of self-existence, sever the net of afflictions, brandish the sword of knowledge, behold the abode of aggregates as empty. In this way, enlightenment shall be reached. I've opened the door to the city of nectar and thoroughly entered into its abode. I've utterly revealed the vessel of nectar. With its juice I have been filled. I've beaten the sublime drum of the Dharma. I've blown Dharma's supreme conch. I have rained a sublime shower of Dharma. I've ignited Dharma's supreme torch. I conquered the potent enemy, the afflictions, and hoisted Dharma's victory banner high. I rescued beings from the ocean of existence and sealed the path of the 3 lower realms. For being scorched by the fire of affliction, without support or cooperative forces, I soothe those burned by delusion's flame, and with nectar juice satisfied such beings. For inconceivably many aeons, I venerated inconceivably many Buddhas, fervently seeking Dharmakaya, resolute in my vows, I engaged in bodhisattva deeds. I gave my hands, eyes, and legs, the supreme part, the head, beloved daughters and sons, crystal, gems, pearls, ornaments, and gold, lapis, and various jewels. A person might cut and chop all that grows on this earth, bushes and trees, grasses and forests, in all the triple thousand worlds. If he ground them to powder and reduced them to dust, a mound reaching the end of space could be built and split into 3 parts. If knowledge of all the dust on earth, infinite units of triple thousand world spheres, was bestowed upon just one being, that being would be extremely superior. Possessed of exalted wisdom, he might count all those particles in that mound of dust, but the extent of the conqueror's knowledge cannot be known. Even in countless tens of millions of aeons, the vitality of just a single moment of the conqueror's omniscient wisdom cannot be measured or gauged. Chapter 7. Chapter on the 4 Great Kings. Then the great king Vajravana, the great king Dhritarashtra, the great king Virudaka, and the great king Virupaksha rose from their seats, put their upper robes over one shoulder, and knelt on their right knees, bowing in reverence in the direction of the Tathagata. They spoke thus: Venerable transcendent victor, this king of glorious sutras, the sublime golden light, is proclaimed by all Tathagatas, discerned by all Tathagatas, considered by all Tathagatas, upheld by the entire assembly of bodhisattvas, honored by the entire community of gods, worshipped by the entire community of gods, praised by all the kings of gods, and is venerated, praised, and revered by the world protectors. It illuminates the dwellings of the gods, magnanimously bestows supreme bliss upon all sentient beings, dries up the suffering of beings in the hells, the animal realms, and the world of Yama, severs the continuity of fear, repels all opponent armies, utterly ends all desolate famine, thoroughly pacifies all hopeless illnesses, and overthrows all unfriendly planets. This sutra makes being supremely serene, utterly elevates sorrow and afflictive emotions, utterly removes all forms of harm, and utterly overcomes hundreds of thousands of afflictions. If, venerable transcendent victor, this king of glorious sutras, the sublime golden light, is expounded perfectly and extensively among the assembly, then by hearing the Dharma and by the nectar of the Dharma, the divine bodies of us 4 great kings, along with our armies and retinues, will wax immensely, having great awe-inspiring glory. In our bodies, stamina, might, and prowess will be generated. Into our bodies, charisma, excellence, and consuming good fortune will flow. Venerable transcendent victor, we the 4 great kings abide by the Dharma, profess the Dharma, and are Dharma kings. Venerable transcendent victor, through the power of the Dharma, we will be kings of gods, nagas, yakshas, gandharvas, asuras, garudas, kinnaras, and mahoragas. We will rout the terrible hosts of bhutas who are without compassion and steal their glory from others. Venerable transcendent victor, we, along with the 28 great generals of the yakshas and with numerous hundreds of thousands of yakshas too, will always watch over, guard, and protect the whole of Jambudvipa with our divine eye, which is pure and surpasses the eyes of humans. Venerable Transcendent Victor, for this reason, we, the four great kings, are known by the name World Protectors. Venerable Transcendent Victor, whatever region of this Jambudvipa is overrun by foreign armies, afflicted with famine and disease, and acutely oppressed by hundreds of different harms, thousands of harms, and hundreds of thousands of harms, Venerable Transcendent Victor, we, the four kings, will give support to the devout monks who keep the King of Glory Sutras, the Sublime Golden Light. Venerable Transcendent Victor, when devout monks, upon receiving encouragement from us, the four great kings, through magic power and blessings, travel to those regions and proclaim perfectly the King of Glory Sutras, the Sublime Golden Light, the hundreds of harms and the thousands of harms occurring in those regions will cease. Venerable Transcendent Victor, whatever regions of a King of Humans, the devout monks who hold the King of Glory Sutras, the Sublime Golden Light visit, those very regions will be visited by the King of Glory Sutras, the Sublime Golden Light. Venerable Transcendent Victor, should a King of Humans listen to the King of Glory Sutras, the Sublime Golden Light, and having listened, should he then give protection, give refuge, care for, and save those monks from all their enemies, then Venerable Transcendent Victor, we, the four great kings, will protect, give refuge, care for, save, and give peace and well-being to the beings living in the entire country of that King of Humans. Venerable Transcendent Victor, should a King of Humans help bhikshus, bhikshunis, upasakas, and upasikas to hold this King of Sutras, providing them with all conducive resources, then we, the four great kings, will ensure that all beings in the entire country of that King of Humans possess excellent well-being and resources. Venerable Transcendent Victor, when the King of Humans respects, honors, and offers service to the bhikshus, bhikshunis, upasakas, and upasikas who hold the King of Sutras, then Venerable Transcendent Victor, we, the four great kings, will greatly respect, greatly honor, greatly offer service, and greatly worship that King of Humans. We will praise him in all regions. Then the Tathagata congratulated the four great kings. Excellent, excellent, O great kings, excellent, excellent, you four great kings. It is like this. You have offered astonishing service to previous Buddhas, produced roots of virtue, honored hundreds of thousands of millions of Buddhas, abided by the Dharma, and professed the Dharma, and through the Dharma you have become kings of gods and humans. It is like this. For a long time you have held a caring mind for all beings, a loving and giving mind, resolutely set in the special resolve to bring benefit and happiness to all sentient beings. You have averted the unhelpful. You have persevered to achieve complete happiness for all beings. O you four great kings, do guard, give refuge, guide, care for, avert retribution, and ensure the peace and happiness of the kings of humans who venerate and honor this King of Glory Sutras, the Sublime Golden Light. In this way, You four great kings, with your armies, retinues, and numerous hundreds of thousands of yakshas, will thoroughly safeguard the Dharma system of past, present, and future Buddhas. You will also preserve and retain it. Then you four great kings, along with your armies, retinues, and numerous hundreds of thousands of yakshas, will be victorious in the battle of gods and demigods. The demigods will be routed. In this way, as the King of Glory Sutras, the sublime golden light, subjugates the armies of adversaries. O four great kings, therefore, do guard, give refuge, guide, care for, and ensure peace and happiness of bhikshus, bhikshunis, upasakas, and upasikas who uphold the King of Glory Sutras, the sublime golden light. Then the great king Vaishravana, the great king Dhritarashtra, the great king Virudaka, and the great king Virupaksha rose from their seats, put their upper robes over one shoulder, and knelt on their right knees, bowing in reverence in the direction of the Tathagata. They spoke thus: Venerable Transcendent Victor, wherever in the future, in villages, cities, towns, country vales, in the whole country, at royal courts, and whichever regions of a king of humans it may reach, if the King of Glory Sutras, the sublime golden light, is utilized by a certain king of humans to wield sovereign authority according to the treatise on kingship, called the inviolable commitments of divine kings, and if he continually listens to, venerates, and worships this King of Glory Sutras, the sublime golden light, or reveres, venerates, worships, and honors bhikshus, bhikshunis, upasakas, and upasikas who uphold this King of Sutras, and listens to the King of Glory Sutras, the sublime golden light, then through the water of listening to the Dharma and the nectar of the Dharma, the divine bodies of us four great kings, our retinues, and numerous hundreds of thousands of yakshas will increase immensely in majesty. We will receive perseverance, energy, and power. Our majesty, glory, and general excellence will be increased. Venerable Transcendent Victor, we, the four great kings, along with our armies, retinues, and numerous hundreds of thousands of yakshas, will make our bodies invisible. Now and in the future, we will visit any place, villages, cities, towns, country vales, royal courts, or the entire nation where this King of Glory Sutras, the sublime golden light, is utilized. We will perpetually protect, give refuge, guide, look after, avert retribution, and ensure peace and happiness of the King of humans who listens to, venerates, and worships the King of Glory Sutras, the sublime golden light. We will perpetually protect, give refuge, guide, look after, avert retribution, and ensure peace and happiness of the royal courts, their lands and regions. We will free these lands from all fear, harm, and conflicts. Invading armies will be turned away. Should a hostile king encroach upon a king of humans who listens to, venerates, and worships this King of Glory Sutras, the sublime golden light, and venerable transcendent victor, should this hostile encroaching king think to himself, with the four divisions of my army, I will march to that region and destroy it, then venerable transcendent victor, at that time, at that moment, by the power of the majesty of the King of Glory Sutras, the sublime golden light, a battle will take place between the hostile king and the other king. Even if the other king retreats to his own kingdom, there will be conflicts between the regions. There will be fierce troubles for the other king. There will be planetary afflictions and sicknesses in his territory. Hundreds of different disturbances will break out in the land. Venerable transcendent victor, should the invading king go back to his land, there will be hundreds of different disturbances and hundreds of different urgent problems. Venerable transcendent victor, if that hostile king builds up the 4 divisions of his army and advances to meet a foreign power, leaving his land behind and pressing ahead with the 4 divisions of his army to that foreign land, and if the land he seeks to overrun is a land where the King of Glorious Sutras, the sublime golden light, exists, then venerable transcendent victor, we, the 4 great kings, along with our armies, retinues, and numerous hundreds of thousands of yakshas, will make our bodies invisible and go there. Even before it enters the land, we will turn back this foreign army in that very spot. We will create hundreds of different difficult situations for him and cause obstacles. Thus, that foreign army of the hostile king will not be able to enter this land, much less cause destruction to it. Then the Tathagata congratulated the 4 great kings and said, "Excellent, excellent, O great kings! O you 4 great kings, again excellent! You have performed perfectly for hundreds of thousands of millions of aeons for the sake of this peerless, perfect enlightenment. Do protect, save, guide, look after, avert retribution, and ensure peace and happiness of a king of humans who listens to, venerates, and worships the King of Glorious Sutras, the sublime golden light. Likewise, do protect, save, guide, look after, avert retribution, and ensure peace and happiness of those royal courts, cities, lands, and regions. Do set free those lands from all fear, harm, and strife. Do turn back foreign armies. Do take delight in ensuring that the kings in Jambudvipa do not fight, do not allege, do not dispute or wage war. If in the 84,000 cities in this Jambudvipa, 84,000 kings remain immensely happy and contented in their own lands, remain immensely happy with power over their kingdoms, do not intimidate each other with stockpiles of wealth, do not generate violence against each other, are contented with the lordship of a king over their kingdoms, achieved according to the karma they have gathered, do not threaten one another, and do not advance to destroy land, but instead, if the 84,000 kings in the 84,000 cities in this Jambudvipa have loving thoughts for each other, mutual loving and caring thoughts, and do not fight, allege, dispute, or wage war, and remain very happy in their own lands, then as a result of this, you 4 great kings with your armies and retinues will flourish. That region will have years of good harvest, will be relaxed and happy, and the land will be full of people and men. The land will become lush. Seasons, months, fortnights, and entire years will be marked by abundance and plenty. The planets, stars, moon, sun, day and night will move smoothly. Rain will continually fall at the right time. All beings in the whole of Jambudvipa will be rich with wealth and grain. They will be wealthy. They will not be miserly. Instead, They will be generous. They will follow the path of 10 virtuous deeds. Most of them will be born into worlds of higher states of existence. The divine lands of gods will be full of gods and their divine children. O great kings, suppose a certain being becomes a king of humans. If he then listens to, venerates, and worships this king of glorious sutras, the sublime golden light, and also if he respects, reveres, venerates, and worships bhikshus, bhikshunis, upasakas, and upasikas who uphold this king of glorious sutras, the sublime golden light, and if out of sympathy for you, 4 great kings, along with your armies, retinues, and many thousands of yakshas, he continually listens to this king of glorious sutras, the sublime golden light, then, with the nectar of the waterfall of Dharma teachings, he will satisfy your bodies. The great majesty of your divine bodies will increase. He will induce perseverance, energy, and power, and this will increase your majesty, glory, and excellence. This King of humans will make inconceivably great, vast offerings to me, the Tathagata, the Arhat, the perfectly enlightened Buddha, Shakyamuni, with all his inconceivably great and vast material resources. This King of humans will make offerings to hundreds of thousands of millions of past, future, and present Tathagatas too. Therefore, great protection will be accorded to that King of humans. Therefore, that King of humans will be fully protected, saved, looked after, and guided. His retribution will be averted, and his peace and happiness ensured. His sublime queen, royal children, retinues of the queen, and all retinues at the royal court will be fully protected, saved, looked after, and guided. Their retribution will be averted, and their peace and happiness ensured. Likewise, all the deities dwelling in the palace will be endowed with heightened majesty, power, inconceivable peace and bliss. They will experience manifold joys. The cities and lands too will be fully protected and looked after, will be without harm and without enemies. They will not be trodden over, harmed, or attacked by a rival army. When he had spoken thus, the great king Vaishravana, the great king Dhritarashtra, the great king Virudaka, and the great king Virupaksha addressed the Tathagata in this way: Venerable transcendent victor, should a certain king of humans seek to listen to this king of glorious sutras, the sublime golden light, seek great protection for himself and for his sublime queen, as well as the princesses and retinues of the queen, should he seek the great inconceivable, supremely superior peerless peace and well-being for the retinues in the palace, should he seek to increase in that life the great inconceivable power of his sovereign kingship, to become endowed with inconceivable greatness, to hold an incalculable stock of merit, to protect his entire land, guard it, ensure it is without harm, without enemy, and not overrun by the rival army, without infectious disease and without trouble, then venerable transcendent victor, that king of humans, with an undistracted mind, filled with respect and veneration, should honor and listen to this king of glorious sutras, the sublime golden light. In order to listen to this king of glorious sutras, the sublime golden light, that king of humans will go to the exalted palace. Having arrived there, he will sprinkle the palace with water of various perfumes and strew it with various flowers. When that palace has been sprinkled with water of various perfumes and strewn with various flowers, he will set up a high Dharma throne, well adorned with various ornaments. That place will be well embellished with various umbrellas, victory banners, and flags. This king of human will wash his body, put on well-perfumed clothes, wear new attire, and adorn himself with various ornaments. He will lay a much lower seat for himself. Once seated on that seat, he will cease to be haughty with the pride of a king. In that place, he will not experience craving for domain of his kingdom. With a mind that is free from pride, arrogance, and haughtiness, he will listen to the King of glorious sutras, the sublime golden light. He will generate the awareness that sees the monk who expounds the Dharma as the teacher. At that time and at that moment, that king of humans will look with affection and kindness upon his sublime queen, princess and princesses, and retinues of the queen. He will speak kind words to his sublime queen, princess and princesses. He will also speak kind words to the retinues of the queen. To celebrate hearing the Dharma, a myriad of offerings will be assembled. He will satiate himself with previously unfelt, inconceivable joy. He will be blissful through inconceivable joy and peace. His senses will be blissful. He will resolve to achieve the higher purpose. With this great joy, he will gladden himself. Feeling very joyous, he will receive the expounder of the Dharma. When they said this to him, the Tathagata said this to the four great kings. O great kings, at that time and at that moment, the king of humans will clothe himself wholly in white, light-colored, new, beautiful clothing. He will adorn himself exquisitely with various ornaments. He will hold white umbrellas as well, with great royal might and pageantry, taking various auspicious items. He will leave the palace in order to receive the expounder of the Dharma. Why? Because for as many hundreds of thousands of millions of aeons as the numbers of steps he takes there, he will shun cyclic existence. For as many hundreds of thousands of millions of aeons as the number of steps he takes, he will obtain Chakravartin kingship. In that life, his royal domain will increase inconceivably by the number of steps he takes. He will obtain expansive dwellings of divine palaces made of the 7 jewels for many hundreds of thousands of millions of aeons. A king of the human race, he will obtain numerous hundreds of thousands of noble divine palaces. In all his births, he will obtain great domain. He will have longevity. He will sustain life for a long period. He will be endowed with confidence and eloquence. His words will be worthy of remembrance. He will be famous. He will be widely talked about. He will be worthy of praise. He will bring good to the worlds of gods, humans, and demigods. He will obtain the magnanimous bliss of gods and humans. He will be powerful. He will possess the powerful strength of a great crowd, and will be handsome too. He will be good-looking and attractive. He will be endowed with supreme complexion. In all his births, he will meet the Tathagatas. He will find virtuous friends. He will hold an incalculable stock of merit. O great kings, seeing such benefits of virtue, the king of humans will go nearly 1 league to receive the expounder of the Dharma. He will go 100 leagues or 1,000 leagues to receive the expounder of the Dharma. He will generate a sense of seeing the expounder as the teacher. He will think to himself, today the Tathagata, the Arhat, the fully enlightened Shakyamuni Buddha, will enter my palace. Today the Tathagata, the Arhat, the fully enlightened Shakyamuni Buddha, will enjoy a meal in my palace. Today I will hear the Tathagata, the Arhat, the fully enlightened Shakyamuni Buddha's Dharma, vastly unlike anything in the world. Today, by hearing the Dharma, I will advance irreversibly to the peerless perfect enlightenment. Today I will please many hundreds of thousands of millions of Tathagatas. Today I will make expansive and inconceivable great offerings to past, future, and present Buddhas. Today I will utterly sever the continuum of all sufferings for beings in the worlds of hell, animals, and Yama. Today I will plant seeds of virtue to obtain several hundreds of thousands of millions of bodies of a Brahma king. Today I will plant seeds of merit to obtain several hundreds of thousands of millions of bodies of Chakra. I will plant seeds of merit to obtain several hundreds of thousands of millions of rebirths as a Chakravartin king. Today I will be free from cyclic existence for several hundreds of thousands of millions of aeons. Today I will hold a stock of merit that is inconceivable, great, vast, and incalculable. Today I will accord great protection to the entire circle of the Queen's retinues. Today, here in the palace, I will give inconceivable, supreme, excellent, matchless, great peace and happiness to beings. Today I will cause the entire land to be protected, guarded, free from harm and enemies, undefeated by all foreign armies, free of infectious diseases, and free of conflict. O great kings, if that king of humans should respect, revere, venerate, and worship bhikshus, bhikshunis, upasakas, and upasikas who uphold this King of Glory Sutras, the sublime golden light, out of such devotion to the sublime Dharma, and should he give the best share of merit thus acquired to you, the four great kings, along with your armies and retinues, assemblies of gods, and numerous hundreds of thousands of yakshas, then that human king's accumulation of merit and virtue, and the inconceivable grandeur of his life and royalty will increase greatly. In that life, the king will be endowed with inconceivable majesty. He will be adorned with glory, excellence, and majestic charisma. He will utterly rout all adversaries and enemies in accordance with the Dharma. When he had spoken thus, the four great kings said this to the Tathagata: Suppose a certain being becomes a king of humans with such devotion to the Dharma. Should he listen to this King of Glory Sutras, the sublime golden light, and likewise respect, revere, venerate, and worship bhikshus, bhikshunis, upasakas, and upasikas who uphold this King of Glory Sutras, the sublime golden light? Should he thoroughly sweep and clean his palace for the sake of us, the four great kings, sprinkle it with various perfume water, and hear the Dharma along with us four great kings, and then, for his own sake and for the sake of all gods, should he give away a little share of merit roots, then, venerable transcendent victor, for the sake of us, the four great kings, as soon as the bhikshu who expounds the Dharma takes his Dharma seat, he will light various fragrant incenses. Venerable transcendent victor, as soon as perfume incenses are lit for the purpose of worshipping this King of Glory Sutras, the sublime golden light, vines having various fragrances and perfumes will issue forth in that instant, second, and moment. In the sky above us four great kings, there will emerge umbrellas made of vines of various incenses and perfumes. Tremendous fragrances of perfume will be sensed. Light like that of gold will arise, and this light will illuminate our dwellings. Venerable Transcendent Victor, in that instant, second, and moment, the vines of incense and perfume will appear in the sky above the dwellings of Brahma, Lord of the fearless world, Indra, King of the gods, the great goddess Sarasvati, the great goddess Dirha, the great goddess Shri, Samjaya, the great general of Yakshas, along with the 28 generals of the Yakshas, Mahashvara, the divine son, Vajrapani, the great general of Yakshas, Manibhadra, the great general of Yakshas, Hariti, with a retinue of 500 sons, Anavatapta, the king of Nagas, and Sagara, the great king of Nagas. The umbrellas of various incenses and perfumes will remain afloat in their dwellings. Exorbitant fragrances of perfume will be sensed. Golden lights will flood their abodes, and these lights will illuminate all their dwellings. When they said this to him, the Tathagata replied in this way to the four great kings: O great kings, it is not just that the umbrellas made of vines of various incenses and perfumes will arise in the sky above the dwellings of you four great kings alone. Why? It is also because, O great kings, as soon as that king of humans lights various incenses in order to worship the king of glory Sutras, the sublime golden light, vines of those various incenses and perfumes will appear from the single stick of incense that he holds in his hands. Then at that instant, second, and moment, in the entire 3,000 great thousand world systems, in which there exist 1,000 million moons, 1,000 million suns, 1,000 million great oceans, 1,000 million Sumerus, the kings of mountains, 1,000 million Chakravadas and Mahachakravadas, the kings of mountains, 1,000 million world systems of the four continents, 1,000 million gods in the class of the four great kings, 1,000 million gods of the 33rd abode of the desire realm, 1,000 million gods of neither awareness nor non-awareness of the formless realms, and in the abodes of 1,000 million gods of the 33, in all these 3,000 great thousand world systems, and in the sky above, the respective dwellings of the assemblies of gods, Nagas, Yakshas, Gandharvas, Asuras, Garudas, Kinnaras, and Mahoragas, the vines of various incenses and perfumes will float. Those beings will smell fragrance of exalted perfumes. Golden lights will flood their divine dwellings and illuminate them. O great kings, in this way, just as in the sky above the divine dwellings in the triple great thousand world systems, those vines of incenses and perfumes will abide as umbrellas. As soon as that king of humans lights various incenses in order to worship the king of glorious Sutras, the sublime golden light, by the power of the king of glorious Sutras, the sublime golden light, there will appear vines of various incenses and perfumes. At that instant, second, and moment, on all sides in the 10 directions, and in numerous world systems, as many as hundreds of thousands of millions of Buddha fields, equaling grains of sand in the river Ganges, and in the sky above, as many hundreds of thousands of millions of Tathagatas, equaling grains of sand in the river Ganges, umbrellas made of vines of various incenses and perfumes will appear. These will smell profusely as incense and perfumes, for the hundreds of thousands of millions of Buddhas. There will be golden light, and that light will illuminate as many hundreds of thousands of millions of Buddha fields, equaling the grains of sand in the river Ganges. O great kings, as soon as these miracles have taken place, then as many hundreds of thousands of millions of Tathagatas as the grains of sand in the river Ganges will recognize that expounder of the Dharma. They will congratulate him. Excellent, excellent, O sublime being! It is most marvelous that you, a sublime being, wish to preach extensively the great features of the King of Glory Sutras, the sublime golden light, which is possessed of inconceivable qualities such as illumination on the profound. If even those beings who hear the King of Glory Sutras, the sublime golden light, will have no lesser roots of virtue, what need is there to say that those who take it up, hold it, recite it, understand it, and expound it extensively in the assembly will sow great roots of virtue? Why? Because, O sublime being, as soon as they hear the King of Glory Sutras, the sublime golden light, numerous hundreds of thousands of millions of bodhisattvas will advance irreversibly to peerless, perfect enlightenment. Then hundreds of thousands of millions of Tathagatas residing in their respective Buddha fields in all the 10 directions, in hundreds of thousands of millions of Buddha fields, as numerous as the grains of sand in the Ganges, with one word, one voice, and one sound, proclaim to the preaching bhikshu seated on the Dharma seat, O sublime being, in the future you will advance to the final state of enlightenment. O sublime being, having gone to the supremely sublime essence of enlightenment, and sitting at the foot of the King of Trees, you will display transcendence over all the triple realms. You will display numerous hundreds of thousands of millions of extolled deeds, awe-inspiring in the triple worlds, surpassing those of all beings. O sublime being, you will thoroughly glorify the essence of enlightenment. O sublime being, you will thoroughly save the triple thousand world systems. O sublime being, sitting at the foot of the King of Trees, you will triumph over the inconceivable army of Maras, which display the most terrifying, repulsive forms and various hideous appearances. O sublime being, having gone to the supremely sublime essence of enlightenment, you will attain the complete state of enlightenment, which is peerless, perfect, and consuming, incomparable, utterly serene, without dust, and profound. O sublime being, seated upon the immutable Vajra seat, you will turn the wheel of the Dharma, which is praised by all holders of Dharma wheels, to be 12-fold, supremely profound. O sublime being, you'll beat the supreme drum of the Dharma. O sublime being, you'll sound the supreme conch of the Dharma. O sublime being, you'll hoist the great banner of the Dharma high. O sublime being, you will light the supreme torch of the Dharma. O sublime being, you will reign a supreme reign of Dharma. O sublime being, you'll be victorious over numerous thousands of afflictions. O sublime being, you'll free numerous hundreds of thousands of millions of sentient beings from the terrifying ocean of fear. O sublime being, from the wheel of cyclic existence, you'll free hundreds of thousands of millions of sentient beings. O sublime being, you'll please hundreds of thousands of millions of Buddhas. As he spoke thus, the 4 great kings replied to the Tathagata, Venerable Transcendent Victor, upon seeing that the King of Humans who perceives the King of Glorious Sutras, the sublime golden light, has such qualities as these in present and future lives, that he will generate roots of virtue under hundreds of thousands of Buddhas and thoroughly hold incalculable stocks of merit, then out of compassion, Venerable Transcendent Victor, we, the four great kings, along with our armies and retinues and numerous hundreds of thousands of yakshas, while in our own respective dwellings, as soon as we have been encouraged by the umbrellas made of vines of incenses and perfumes, will render our bodies invisible and go to the palace of that King of Humans to listen to the Dharma, the palace built by the King of Humans, which is well swept and clean, sprinkled with water of various perfumes, and exquisitely adorned with various ornaments. Brahma, Lord of the fearless world, Indra, King of the gods, the great goddess Sarasvati, the great goddess Dirha, the great goddess Sri, Samjaya, great general of the Yakshas, along with the 28 generals of Yakshas, Mahashwara, the divine sun, Vajrapani, great general of Yakshas, Manibhadra, great general of the Yakshas, Hariti, with a retinue of 500 sons, Anavatapta, king of Nagas, Sagara, the great king of Nagas, and numerous hundreds of thousands of millions of gods and goddesses will all make their bodies invisible and approach the palace of the King of Humans, which is well adorned, and where, on the flower-strewn ground, is set up for the expounder of the Dharma, a high seat well decorated with various adornments. Venerable Transcendent Victor, we, the four great kings, along with our army and retinues, including numerous hundreds of thousands of yakshas, will be agreeable to the king as soon as we have been satiated with the nectar juice of the Dharma by the King of Humans who assists in virtue, causes beings to receive virtue, and bestows the supreme generosity of the peerless Dharma. We will fully protect that human king. We will save, guide, care for, and ensure peace and happiness for him. We will also protect his palace, cities, and regions. We will safeguard, look after, ensure peace and happiness, and avert retribution for beings in these places. We will ensure that region is free of all threats, harm, contagious diseases, and conflict. Venerable Transcendent Victor, suppose a certain being becomes a king of humans, and in the land of this king of humans there exists the King of Glorious Sutras, the sublime golden light. Venerable Transcendent Victor, if that King of Humans does not respect, revere, venerate, and worship bhikshus, bhikshunis, upasakas, and upasikas who uphold the King of Glorious Sutras, the sublime golden light, then he will not satisfy us four kings or numerous hundreds of thousands of millions of yakshas with the hearing of the Dharma and the nectar juice of the Dharma. He will not venerate us. These divine bodies of ours will not increase in majesty. Our perseverance, might, and power will not be enhanced. Majesty, glory, and excellence will not increase in our bodies. Venerable Transcendent Victor, we four great kings, along with our armies and retinues and numerous hundreds of thousands of millions of yakshas, will neglect the land. Venerable Transcendent Victor, when we neglect the land, then all the assembly of gods and goddesses who dwell in the land will also neglect the land. Venerable Transcendent Victor, when the gods and goddesses discard the land, there will be various conflicts in the land. There will be fierce disputes among kings. All beings living in that land will become quarrelsome, accusatory, and contentious. They'll be divided and ruined. the land will experience various illnesses and unfavorable planets. Comets will fall from various directions. Planets and stars will become hostile with one another. The moonrise at night will seem like the rising of the sun. There will be lunar and solar eclipses. Even the sun and moon in the sky will be attacked continually by Rahu. From time to time, halos the color of rainbows will appear in the sky. There will be earthquakes. The wells in the ground will howl with sounds. Gale-force winds will blow in the land. There will be torrential rainfalls. There will be desolate famines in the land. Rival armies will crush the land. The land will be filled with swarms of bees. Beings will experience rampant afflictions. The land will become most unpleasant. Venerable Transcendent Victor, when we, the four great kings, along with our armies and retinues, numerous hundreds of thousands of yakshas, nagas, who live in the land, and gods and goddesses, all ignore it, there will arise hundreds of these and similar harms, and thousands of harms in that land. Venerable Transcendent Victor, suppose a certain being becomes a king of humans. If he seeks to provide great protection for himself, to experience various regal joys, to exercise his sovereignty with an intention to give all happiness and well-being to every living being in the land, to defeat the entire rival army, to reign over all the land for a great length of time, to be a Dharma king, and to free his land from all fear, harm, contagious disease, and conflict, that king of humans, Venerable Transcendent Victor, will undoubtedly hear the King of Glory Sutras, the Sublime Golden Light. He will respect, revere, venerate, and worship bhikshus, bhikshunis, upasakas, and upasikas who uphold the King of Glory Sutras. We, the four great kings, along with our armies and retinues, will be satisfied by roots of virtue gathered from listening to the Dharma and by the nectar juice of the Dharma. These divine bodies of ours will increase in majesty. Why? Because Venerable Transcendent Victor, that King of humans, will undoubtedly listen to the King of Glory Sutras, the Sublime Golden Light. Venerable Transcendent Victor, the King of Glorious Sutras, the Sublime Golden Light, supremely surpasses the many various mundane and supramundane treatises expounded by Brahma lords, the many various mundane and supramundane treatises expounded by Shakra, the King of Gods, and the many various mundane and supramundane treatises expounded for the sake of sentient beings by seers possessed of the 5 extrasensory perceptions. It is perfectly and widely expounded for the sake of sentient beings by the Tathagata, who is more supreme and exalted than hundreds of thousands of Lord Brahmans, numerous hundreds of thousands of millions of chakras, and hundreds of thousands of millions of seers possessed of the 5 extrasensory perceptions. The King of Glory Sutras, the Sublime Golden Light, is expounded so that kings of humans in Jambudvipa may be supreme reigning kings, all beings may be happy, fully protect their lands and reign in their lands, that their lands may be without harm and enemies, that they may defeat the armies of adversaries and turn them away, that there may be no infectious illness and conflict in those lands, that through the Dharma those lands may be without conflict and not be overrun, that these kings of humans may light the great torch of the Dharma and illuminate their lands, that all the divine dwellings may be filled with gods and divine children, that we, the 4 great kings, along with armies and retinues and numerous hundreds of thousands of yakshas and all the gatherings of gods dwelling in Jambudvipa, may be satisfied, that all may be auspicious, that these divine bodies of ours may increase in majesty, that perseverance, power, and strength may be instilled in our bodies, that majesty, glory, and excellence may flow into our bodies, that Jambudvipa may have good crops and be filled with people, and that all beings dwelling in Jambudvipa may be happy and experience various pleasures, that all sentient beings may have various joys and experience magnanimous joys of gods and humans for numerous hundreds of thousands of millions of aeons. Find the company of Lord Buddhas, and in some future time be fully enlightened in the peerless state of perfect enlightenment. The venerable transcendent victor, the Tathagata, the Arhat, the fully enlightened Buddha, possesses blessings infused by the power of great compassion, exceedingly superior to that of hundreds of thousands of millions of Brahma lords, unsurpassable Tathagata, knowledge exceedingly superior to the knowledge of hundreds of thousands of millions of chakras, and blessings exceedingly superior to that of numerous hundreds of thousands of millions of various seers possessed of the 5 extrasensory perceptions. The venerable transcendent victor, the Tathagata, the Arhat, the fully enlightened Buddha, has widely and perfectly expounded here in Jambudvipa, the King of Glory Sutras, the sublime golden light, for the sake of sentient beings. Whatever royal views, royal treatises, and royal duties there are in the whole of Jambudvipa, which ensure happiness for sentient beings, all have been revealed, stated, and expounded by the venerable transcendent victor, the Tathagata, the Arhat, the fully enlightened Buddha, in the King of Glory Sutras, the sublime golden light. Venerable transcendent victor, for this reason and for this cause, the King of humans will undoubtedly listen to, venerate, and worship the King of Glory Sutras, the sublime golden light. As they said this to him, the venerable transcendent victor said thus to them, Therefore, O you 4 great kings, with your armies and retinues, do take unhesitating great delight in protecting the kings of humans who listen to, respect, and worship the King of Glory Sutras, the sublime golden light. O great kings, do let bhikshus, bhikshunis, upasakas, and upasikas who hold the King of Glory Sutras, the sublime golden light, uphold Buddha deeds. They will perform Buddha deeds in the worlds of gods, humans, and asuras. They will expound the King of Glory Sutras, the sublime golden light, well and extensively. You 4 great kings by all means will protect, safeguard, guide, look after, and ensure the peace and happiness of bhikshus, bhikshunis, upasakas, and upasikas who hold the King of Glory Sutras, so they may be secure, without harm, ailments, or conflicts, and endowed with peace of mind, enabling them to expound the King of Glory Sutras, the sublime golden light, well and extensively. Then indeed, the great king Vaishravana, the great king Datarashatra, the great king Virudaka, and the great king Virupaksha rose from their seats, placed their upper robes over one shoulder, knelt their right knees on the ground, and bowed in reverence with their folded hands, pointing in the direction of the Tathagata. At that time, they praised the Tathagata in these befitting verses. O Conqueror, your form is the flawless full moon. O Conqueror, your 1,000-ray light is the sun. O Conqueror, your eyes are the stainless lotus petal. O Conqueror, your teeth are the flawless lotus stem. O Conqueror, your virtues, like the ocean, are the source of myriad jewels. O Conqueror, your ocean is filled with wisdom water. and with 100,000 concentrations, O conqueror, the soles of your feet are inscribed with wheels, perfectly round, and with 1,000 spokes. Your hands and feet are netted by webs of light. The webs of your feet resemble those of the King of Keys. O conqueror, you are like a golden mountain. O conqueror, the flawless king of the golden mountain, your virtues are like Mount Sumeru. We worship you, O conqueror, the Lord of the mountain. The Tathagata is like the fully waxed moon, and likewise resembles and takes after space. We prostrate to the flawless conqueror. Then the Tathagata spoke these verses to the 4 great kings. O you, the 4 guardians of the world, safeguard with utmost effort the King of Glorious Sutras, the sublime golden light of the 10 powers. In this way, this profound precious sutra that bestows goodness upon all creatures will abide long in this Jambudvipa, to bring solace and benefit to beings. In this way, the suffering of the lower realms, all suffering of hell beings in the hell realms, of the 1,000 great thousand worlds, will be utterly pacified. Here in this Jambudvipa, all the kings in the land will feel intense great joy and will rule according to the Dharma. One who makes Jambudvipa tranquil, extremely bountiful and full of joy, will make beings in the whole of Jambudvipa full of peace. Here the lots of humans who delight in bringing happiness to themselves and their lands, and who find joy in making their kingdoms prosperous, should listen to this King of Glorious Sutras. This King of Glorious Sutras fully destroys external enemies, turns back legions of foreign armies, removes the fear of the terrified and poor, and causes supreme virtue. Just as the jeweled tree, intensely beautiful and the source of all virtue, stands as a centerpiece in a house, so should this supreme King of Sutras be viewed by those who desire the virtue of kings. Just as cool water quenches the thirst of one who is tortured by heat, so does this supreme King of Sutras satisfy kings oppressed by thirst for virtue. Like having a jeweled box, the source of all jewels, sitting in the palm of one's hand, the supreme King of Sutras, the sublime golden light, acts thus for the lords of humans, venerated by the assembly of gods and worshipped by the kings of gods. This King of Sutras is carefully guarded by 4 world protectors possessed of potent magic power. The Buddhas in the 10 directions continually remember this King of Sutras. When this King of Sutras is expounded, Buddhas bestow rejoicing, well-said remarks. Further, 100,000 million yakshas will protect lands in the 10 directions where this King of Sutras is heard with keen interest and great joy. The inconceivable hosts of gods who dwell in Jambudvipa will listen to this King of Sutras with great joy. The gods will obtain charisma, power, and enthusiasm. Their enchanting divine forms will wax and wax greatly. Upon hearing such verses as these from the Tathagata, the 4 great kings were amazed, enthralled, and delighted. Moved by the power of the Dharma, they were overcome by emotion and became tearful. Then, wiping away their tears, endowed with inconceivable joy, happiness, and gladness, their bodies upright, their limbs quivering, they strew the Tathagata profusely with divine mandarava flowers. Having strewn the Tathagata with flowers, they rose from their seats, put their upper robes over one shoulder, knelt their right knees on the ground, and bowed to the Tathagata. Folding their hands in reverence, they observed thus to him: O venerable transcendent victor, in order to protect and care for the bhikshu who expounds the Dharma, we, the four great kings, each with 500 yakshas, will always follow after him. This concludes the 7th chapter, the chapter on the four great kings, from the King of Glory Sutras, the Sublime Golden Light.